time, I could be gone every weekend, and that's not the lifestyle I want. So I have to kind of balance that out. But yeah, teaching and everything associated with that, getting, pattern writing and again, books and, all that kind of stuff. It's basically, it all combines together. I would say teaching is probably my biggest source of my part of the business income. The other part, of course, is my husband runs the store, and that's still a significant part of our income too. But yeah, teaching is really enjoyable. It's really fun. And it's kind of something that I would do anyway. Like, I love sharing my love of quilting with people. And so the fact that I get paid for it is kind of like icing.
That's really interesting. So interesting. And do you feel like this, so I want to have more conversations with you, but how has the industry evolved since, like, it seems like these are really big years, big shifts in the industry that's happening with the internet and with social media, that things have shifted pretty dramatically in the last, say, 10 to 15 years. So.
And I love reading about that. I love having conversations about that online because I've been, I've only been, kind of getting my name out there the last 5 years since I wrote my book. But I've been in the industry for over 20 years, even though I've been more behind the scenes. And so what I've seen from the 90s till now, of course, the big boom, the big, online presence, but also the fact that, a lot of people lament, the quilting industry, quilt market's not relevant, or the quilting industry is dying, or this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. And what I've seen, that's simply not the case. Yeah. What it is the focus is shifting. You've still got the demographics. You can look that up about, the average age of the quilters and the income levels and all that kind of stuff. And those have been fairly consistent, over the last 20 years. But there's a huge, social media presence. But at the same time, social media also makes things seem bigger than they are. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to use names or anything. You might hear or see things on social media like, oh, this amazing designer, or this amazing this, or this amazing that, and as a designer myself, I pay attention to that, but also kind of wearing that shop owner hat. Just because somebody has a big social media presence, it doesn't mean that their fabric sells, Yeah. And so people have to be wary of thinking that social media is a window into quilting. It's one window.
It's weird, right? The huge Facebook groups too are so interesting, aren't they? Like, because you'll get like we've been following and tracking them, and you'll see that like someone will be like, oh hey, there's this X happening, and they'll have like 70,000 people, and only like 15 like are participating in that thing. So you get this really unequal, and then sometimes you get tons of response, right? So it's really interesting to watch the sort of how active things are, right?
Yeah. So I would say social media definitely helps, and you should be online and all that. Yeah. But people need to remember there are thousands and thousands and thousands of quilters that go to their quilt shop, and that's their only contact to the quilting world. They're not online. Some of them don't even email, and they're out there buying fabric, buying books, buying supplies. So whereas it's super important from the designer side to be out there and try to reach people online, it's also important to have a relationship with your local quilt shop to reach those customers that are not going to find you any other way.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? That's so perceptive. Tell me about sort of the Modern Quilt Guild. What role has the Modern Quilt Guild played in your life?
Oh my gosh, totally changed my life. Like I said, I went to QuiltCon, and up until that time, I'm in my early 40s, and because I'd been quilting since my 20s, and I was always in groups where I was always the youngest person, nothing wrong with that, but that's just what it was, my demographics. Yeah. Right. And so it wasn't until I went to QuiltCon that all of a sudden, it's not that everybody that's in modern quilting is younger, it's just that there are more younger quilters in modern quilting rather than quilting as a whole. So I had thought in my mind, I will not be allowed to write a book. I will not be allowed to be a national teacher until I'm of a certain age, until I'm retired, until my kids are in the house, because that's the only thing I'd seen up until that time. Going to QuiltCon blew that all out of the water. Here, I met amazing people. Like, that's where I met Angela, who's, she's younger than me. And that's where these people that were like, we have kids and we're still doing this, and that's fine. You don't have to retire to be a professional full-time quilter. And so just seeing that at QuiltCon, it was out there. I just didn't see it. Right. And so that kind of gave me permission that like, I don't have to wait until I retire. I don't have to wait until I'm out of the house. Yeah. I can do this. So, and then the coolest thing is when I was at QuiltCon, I was just so blown away. I've been to every one since, and I vowed to come back as a teacher. I said, okay, this place has it going on. I'm going to come back and teach. And so then I was able to do that 3 years later in 2016. And then I'm also going to teach again next year at 2019,
Cool.
which I know you are too.
I am. So do you have any advice? I'm excited. I'm a little like, whoa, like I teach all the time, but not in this way. So I'm excited. But any words of advice on teaching at QuiltCon?
It's a different, one thing I will say, because I teach at a lot of quilt shows, it is a different demographic. It's a different clientele. And so just be prepared. People want you to be very prepared, of course. It's really good. It's really fun. It's much more social. It's much more of a fun party atmosphere. For example, the example I always give to people is that I taught at a big national show earlier this year, which was fabulous and super fun. And the people there, like, nobody really knew each other. Like, they would bring their groups of friends and maybe they would meet in class, but they didn't know each other. Whereas when I teach at QuiltCon, like, you walk down the hall and people know each other. So it's more of I would say it's more community driven, and It's very much more of a sharing environment. At QuiltCon, you're encouraged to take pictures and share online and social media and write blog posts, where at some of these other national shows, there's like signs up everywhere. Don't take pictures, ask for permission. You're not allowed to do this.
Interesting. Very old school, right? Yeah.
It's just a different mentality. And I love that it's kind of filling a gap that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super psyched to go. We had someone go as part of JustWannaQuilt this year in Pasadena, and it was really fun to sort of watch what she was experiencing and chatting with people and all that. So it'll be fun to go. So interesting. So interesting. So, yeah. So any worries about intellectual property?
You know what? It comes up, and because now I have my books out there, I have my patterns out there, I have a really cute logo that people like steal all the time for me.
Really?
In fact, my logo, I had commissioned a friend of mine who's an artist to make it. It's kind of like a cute little caricature of me at a sewing.
It's adorable. Right.
First version of the logo, and it got out there on the internet, and now everybody's stealing it and they're using it, and so I have to track people down, and it's a real big pain. So what I had her do is I actually had her make me a second logo that has not been stolen. It's similar to the first one, and the only thing with that is, like, I have to determine how much time and effort do I want to spend on it versus like, you know what I mean? Because like I could send out this, I could do this. I get it off whenever I can, but honestly, and I hate to say this, sometimes it's more of a hassle than it's worth. Yeah. And so it's not taking away my livelihood. You know, I've seen people copy my patterns. I've seen people do that. And again, you could go through the time and the effort, but it's not impacting me financially. So most of the time, and I hate to say this, I just ignore it. And I just pretend it's not there, or I try to. That's not a good thing to say. I try not to let it bother me, because it's going to happen. Like, people are going to steal your stuff. And so if I see stuff, I'll report it to my publisher. I'll report it as much as I can. But in the quilting industry, stuff is just going to get stolen. And that's just how it is. That sounds awful. But
but that's true of video games and movies, and like every industry, is going to have this sort of percentage of theft. And then the question is, how do you mitigate with that? When is it worth it? I mean, we're talking to content owners as well about all of this. And again, policing is
by continuing to produce more content and recognizing, I mean, not yet, it has not impacted me financially. If it got to the point where, you know, maybe somebody stole something and they're making all this money and I'm not, but it's been like third world countries or somebody in some far off website that has no traffic. So in the long run, it hasn't really impacted me financially.
Got it. No. Interesting. Well, I think that's super interesting. And do you feel like you're policing, like, there's two aspects I'm curious about, because one of the things is you've built up a brand, so people know you're like a thing, right? So it's protecting the Precut Store and protecting Christa Quilts, protecting you as a right of publicity. That's one aspect. And then there's the patterns themselves. So I guess maybe three: your right of publicity, your trademarks, and then the copyright. Is that the way you see it? Or like, how do you think about yourself as a kind of a commodity? Like, you're a thing, right? So.
You're so funny. I'm like, I just think of me like as, you know what? I'm just lucky that I get to do this as my job, is supporting. Knock on wood, I haven't had too many bad experiences. And so, you know, fortunately, when I write my books, like I said, those are all, you know, copyrighted, protected, you know.
Right, they're copyright protected. And the publisher's doing that because it's through the publisher.
So they have a bigger reach. They have kind of more big guns that can deal with that than I can. And then, like I said, I haven't had too many problems so far, other than just the annoyance of people stealing my, because it's cute, you know, but hey, people are now getting to the point, because that's synonymous with my brand, is like, they'll kind of stick up for me. So if they see, the biggest thing that happens is because the logo is on Google and I can't get it off, taking it and they use it as their avatar on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh, that's okay. It's kind of funny. It's weird, right?
Hey, that's not your logo. It's Christa's. And most of the time, it's an honest mistake. People are like, oh, I just found it online. And I'm like, well, just because you found it online doesn't mean it's true.
It is so true, right?
People that do that, they do take it off. And my friends that see it, they'll leave messages, they'll keep comments. So people do, like, when they realize that it's not theirs, they do take it off. But that does happen.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about creating fabric. So you're doing that as well.
Oh my gosh, that's another one of those like bucket list items that I thought, okay, as a designer, I need to do that. Same thing with books. I got into it, my first collection. I loved making fabric. I tell everybody out there, I'm like, please buy my fabric. I don't need to get rich off of it. Just buy it so that I can keep making it, because I love making it. It's so much fun to design.
And is Modern Marks the one, is that the current, is that?
Yeah. Modern Marks is in stores now, and it's with Benartex, and they have a modern division called Contempo. So they kind of brought me in to be one of the, more modern contemporary designers. Yeah. So Modern Marks is out now. And then my brand new collection called Fandangle comes out, should be shipping to stores in the next week or so.
Very exciting.
I'll have another one in the fall, but shush, don't tell anybody. Just kidding.
You have another one in the fall? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'll have another one in the fall, which I'm now... I've heard this from other designers. When you design fabric, you have like 3 or 4 things going on at once. If you're releasing, at least like 1 to 2 lines a year. So you have the fabric in stores, you have the fabric that's coming out, and then you have the fabric that's going to be coming out. So at any one time, I'm making stuff with Modern Marks. I'm finishing the publicity for Fandangle, which is coming out. The third collection, I'm starting to design stuff for now, so that by the time it hits at fall market, everything's ready to go. So it's kind of
that's so cool.
Like, okay, which collection am I working on, and what are they called, and that, but it's really cool.
We talked to Patrick Lowe's, and he kind of took us through his process of things that happen in his, with the way he designs. I would love to do that with you too, because he's doing it independently now. So it would be interesting to chat with you about do a recording on its own about sort of how you do this, how does this happen? Because I think it would be really fascinating to.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into that now, later, whatever you want.
Well, let's do it as a separate thing, because we're almost at half hour and people have been requesting half hour ones, which never happens because it is impossible
on
to
fabric
talk.
Design process. Yeah, I'd love to chat about that.
Yeah, let's do that. This is so cool. I'm so psyched about all of this. So follow up, I would love to chat with your husband about the business on Amazon. That would be so insanely cool. And I would love to chat with you about your process of creating process. That would be really, really, really cool. If that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Does that sound
good? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, cool. Oh, I'm just beyond thrilled to chat with you. This is so cool. I'm definitely ordering your book because we are doing, I love pre-cuts. They are my very favorite thing on the planet because I just feel like I don't have time to cut stuff. So it's like...
That was like my latest book, Peace and Quilt with Precuts, was kind of like a no-brainer because like, oh, well, Dad, that kind of like precuts from the, Precut Store.
Right.
And then quilting it because, again, going back to that start to finish, like I want to teach people, I don't want to be like quilt is desired. Go figure it out. I want to be like, okay, if you want to learn how to quilt your own quilts, like I'm here to teach you.
That's so great. And I think that's so funny that like I'm kind of amazed at how there is stuff out there for pre-cuts, but not as much as you'd think. Like I look all the time because I find that pre-cuts are such a great thing to be able to pick up on different places. Like if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you get all of the different colors. It's so fun and interesting. So I can't wait to look at your book, and we'll chat more about that too. I would love for you to come back and talk more about the book.
Okay, well, we can chat later, and I can send you one. You don't have to buy it all.
Okay, that sounds great. Cool. I like that. Well, that's very cool, and I love the shop, and we'll talk more about that. I just feel like I have a lot more to learn from you, so I just think it would be awesome. Yeah. That's
anytime. I just like to tell people I really am an open book. I mean, obviously there's like things I can't talk about, like contracts, numbers, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but if anybody wants like just general advice or general, like, how do I this or that?
Yeah.
There have been people that have mentored me and helped me that like, I love to turn that back around and help other people in any way I can. Because really at the end of it, we all just want to quilt. We want to have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
Some of us, it's our hobby. Some of us, it's our job. But the awesome thing about quilting is there's literally something for everyone. And I love that.
I know. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty remarkable. It's quite an amazing thing. So this is wonderful. Okay, so this is the first of a number of conversations. Just let me know, like my calendar's and there's not a lot of calendar space for the interviews, but I do them off calendar too. So like whatever works for you guys.